This is a reading from Theosophy by Rudolf Steiner. What we strive for in the quest for knowledge in relation to thinking must also be sought in our actions, which must be able to follow and obey the laws of noble beauty and eternal truth without intruding influences from our subjectivity. We must be able to gain orientation from these laws. If we begin to do something that we have recognized to be right, although this does not satisfy our personal predilection, this is not grounds for giving up on the path we have embarked on. But nor should we pursue it because it gives us pleasure if we discover that it does not accord with the laws of eternal beauty and truth. In ordinary life, people allow what personally satisfies them, what is fruitful for them, to determine their actions. By doing so, they impose their individual tendencies upon the course of world phenomena and do not embody the truth that is prefigured in the laws of the world of spirit. Rather, they enact the demands or dictates of caprice. We only work in accordance with the spiritual world if we follow its laws alone. Things done only out of our own personality do not give rise to powers that can form a foundation for spiritual knowledge. Those who seek knowledge cannot simply ask, "What will be fruitful for me? What will bring success?" They must also be able to ask, "What have I recognized to be good?" Relinquishment of anything random or capricious, and of all actions that directly bear fruit for us, are the stringent laws pupils of the Spirit must be able to follow. Then they walk upon the paths of the world of spirit, imbuing their whole being with these laws. They free themselves from all compulsions of the sense world. They raise their essential spirit out of its sensory call and begin to make progress toward the spirit, spiritualizing themselves. Thus, as well as keeping thinking in strict order, a person seeking knowledge must have a strong hold upon their will. Then, in all modesty and without presumption, they will become a messenger for the world of truth and beauty. As long as we live personally with the world, things only reveal to us what connects them with our personality. But that is their transient aspect. If we draw ourselves away from our transient nature and live with our truer sense of self, with our I, in what is permanent in us, then our transient aspects become mediators that reveal a lasting, eternal quality in things. In a quest for knowledge, we must be able to establish this relationship between our own eternal being and the eternal nature in things. Already before we adopt other exercises of the kind described, we must direct our attention to this enduring quality. Whenever I observe a plant, an animal, or a human being, I should be able to recollect that an eternal quality expresses itself in them. I should be able to ask myself what lives as an enduring quality in the transient stone, the transient human being, and what of them will survive their transient sensory manifestation. Do not think that turning our spirit in this way to eternal and enduring things will uproot our devoted attention to and perception of ordinary everyday qualities and alienate us from immediate reality. On the contrary, every leaf, every little beetle will reveal countless secrets to us when not only our eyes, but our eyes of spirit are turned toward them. Every shimmer, every subtle hue of color, every tone will remain vivid and perceptible to our senses. Nothing will be lost. Instead, all will be enhanced by limitless new life. Those who do not know how to observe the smallest thing with their eyes will also fail to develop thinking. that is anything more than pale and arid, and will be unable to come to spirit vision. By practicing such exercises, we will soon notice that enormous transformations are underway within us. We learn to accord importance or lack of it to everything only to the degree that we perceive its relationship with something enduring and eternal. We develop a different sense of the value of things. We esteem them more than we used to. Our feeling gains a different relationship to our whole environment. No longer do transient things attract us simply for their own sake, as they used to, but instead they become for us a part of what is eternal and a metaphor for it. This eternal quality that indwells all things is something we learn to love. It becomes close and familiar to us in the same way that transient things used to be. Again, this does not distance us from life, but rather we learn only to know the true meaning of each thing. Even the vain hubbub of life does not pass us by without divulging some meaning, but we no longer lose ourselves to it as we seek the spirit. Rather, we perceive its value, however limited. We see it in the right light. Someone who desires only to wander in cloudy heights will not learn to perceive clearly and grows remote from life. A person who truly attains knowledge will be able, from their lofty peak, also to have clear oversight and the right feeling for everything that exists and understand its place in the world. Thus, it becomes possible for us in our quest for knowledge no longer to follow the dictates of the outer world of senses, which engages our will now in one direction and now in another. On the path of knowledge, we have become able to perceive the eternal essence of things. By transforming our inner world, we now have the capacity to perceive this eternal essence. For those who require this stage of seership, the following thoughts acquire special importance. In acting out of themselves, they are aware they do so out of the eternal nature of things. For things now utter their nature within them. Thus, they act in accordance with the eternal world order by giving their actions a direction governed by the eternal that lives within them. They know they are no longer merely driven by things, but that they themselves drive them according to the laws inherent in these things, which have become the laws of their own actions. Acting from within in this way can only be an ideal toward which we strive. Attaining this goal lies in the far distant future, but the seer must have the will to see this path clearly unfolding before them. That is their will to freedom. For freedom means acting out of oneself, and we may only act out of ourselves if we draw the impulses for action from what is eternal. If we do not do this, we act out of impulses rather than those implanted in things, and this runs counter to the order of the world, which must then prevail over us. In other words, ultimately, this will mean that the will cannot enact what is prefigured for it and cannot become free. The arbitrary volition of a single being destroys itself through the effect of its action. This has been an excerpt reading from Theosophy and the Path of Knowledge, Chapter 4, from Rudolf Steiner's Theosophy. Thank you.